Welcome to the channel. How to have self-respect as a woman. That's what we're talking about right now. I decided to go live just to come in and chat with you all. I'm trying to go live more often. So unfortunately, I can't really give you a set schedule, but I'm trying to work on that. But I'm going to be talking about how to have self-respect as a woman. So I'm going to wait for a few of you to come in here. And this is just a relaxing chat. I'm home, relaxing on my couch. This is not anything that's going to be, it's very laid back. This is just a laid back talk. You're just having a chat. So that's what we're doing right now. I'm going to be talking about how to have self-respect as a woman, because that is lacking a whole lot today. As I sip my coffee, as women, it's so important that we have self-respect, because when you have self-respect, there's certain things you will and you will not put up with as a woman. And just because you're in your femininity, that doesn't mean that you accept and deal with anything. So we're going to be talking about that. There's a lot of misconception around femininity and what it is to be a feminine woman, what it is to be a woman that is more soft, more gentle. There's a lot of confusion around that topic. So that's something I want to talk about right now. As women, we have to understand that just because you are feminine, just because you are a woman that's more laid back, more rested, more, you're trying to live a more soft life, that doesn't mean that all of a sudden you're a woman that's a doormat. That's not what it means to be a feminine woman. Being a feminine woman is the true core essence of who you were created to be. It's operating from that part of yourself. It's not being a doormat. Having self-respect is going to protect you as a woman. When a woman has self-respect, she essentially has confidence and she loves herself enough to put down boundaries with people. When a woman doesn't have self-respect, she will accept anything and she's, quote, down for anything. And that's what we see a lot of today. A lot of women who sit in neutral. And it's not really a feminine trait to be a woman that kind of sits in neutral and has that, well, to each his own mentality. Yes, to each his own. But when it comes to your personal life as a woman, you have to have boundaries. You can't just accept anything. And when you lean into your femininity, you become more comfortable with saying what you will and will not accept as a woman, especially if you are the type of feminine woman who operates from that princess queen energy. When you are a woman that's more confident, more secure, when you're not really into people pleasing anymore, that's when it becomes easier for you to have boundaries and have that level of self-respect that you might not have had before. So I think the question for a lot of women is, why don't you have self-respect? Or what caused you to not love and respect yourself the way you should as a woman? A lot of times it comes down to how a woman was raised. When a woman was raised in an environment where messy behavior was celebrated, where mediocrity was celebrated, where people were threatened by any idea or form of you doing better was frowned upon. So you decided that you have to dumb yourself down in order to fit in. That's normally when self-respect starts to suffer with a woman, starting from the time that she's a young girl. If you were raised in a toxic environment where people didn't really encourage you to embrace your uniqueness, but rather They suppressed you as a young lady. When you grow up, you live your life trying to please other people and doing what you think other people will be pleased with rather than what you know in your heart and your mind that is right to do. So, when it comes to having a lack of self respect, it almost always goes back to how a woman was raised. And the way it is today, because I grew up in the late 80s, I was pretty much a 90s kid. So in the 90s, for me, from my experience, you still had the women and the parents around you, even if it wasn't your parent, you had parents around you that would kind of put you in your place if you were being, quote, too grown, or you were acting, really messy, or doing things that, didn't make yourself look as good as you should as a young lady. If you were walking around with your skirt hiked up too high, they tell you, pull your dress down, pull your skirt down, go in the house, put lotion on your feet, those kind of things. Because back then, women cared about those kind of things. They cared about how they present. Of course, I'm not saying all women, because in every generation you had a level of messiness. But as the decades have gone on, it's almost as if we celebrate a woman being unkept. We celebrate a woman not embracing her femininity. We celebrate a woman that doesn't have any kind of moral compass. And when you move into a time where people are celebrating women that don't have a moral compass, that's when you get the lack of self respect with women. When women start seeing their bodies as objects to be worshiped rather than something to be cherished, that's when you get a lack of self respect. So, how can you gain self respect as a feminine woman? First, you need to understand who you are as a person without the influence of people that you came up with, without anything else. Look at yourself and ask yourself, who am I? And for me, knowing who you are starts with your relationship with God first. When you have that relationship with God, when you have that moral compass, you understand that boundaries are in place to protect you, not to hold you back. As a woman, having boundaries is healthy. Having that healthy masculine covering is healthy for you. I understand that many women, because they are so heavily in their masculine, they see having any kind of restriction or boundary as someone trying to oppress them, or somebody trying to suppress their will. But as a woman, it is healthy, and everybody needs boundaries, man, woman, and child. But as a woman, boundaries are healthy for you because it allows you to think about what you're doing and what you're accepting in your life. If more women had self respect and had more confidence and self worth, they would not put up with many of these toxic relationships that they are in with these males. Good afternoon, Miss Williams. I don't want to mess up your first name. Good afternoon. But if women really had the level of self respect that they should have, they would not put up with a lot of the things they put up with in relationships. Many women don't have self respect because they feel like they need to still please other people. So they let down their boundaries, they let down their guard, and go against their best judgment, their intuition, the power of the Holy Spirit. They move against that and do what they think is going to make everybody okay. When you are a woman that has self respect, while you care about other people being okay, you're not willing to sacrifice your well being, your self respect, and your moral compass. You're not going to go against what your spirit is telling you in order to please other people. So, the first way you can gain self respect as a woman is to stop being a people pleaser. When you are so eager to please other people, you will deal with anything. You will allow people to do anything. You will allow people to say anything. And because you don't like conflict, and I've heard a lot of women say this, well, I just mind my business. I don't like conflict. And I don't think any person with a healthy mindset really likes conflict, but to not like conflict and to be willing to deal with it when you have to is two different things. When you have self respect, you are a woman that is not afraid to stand on her principles, not afraid to stand on her boundaries. For me, because of how I believe spiritually, there are certain things that people are not going to be able to persuade me to do or to believe or to say. And I stand on that. And while as a feminine woman, you're not going to quote stand on business the way the world says it, as like, you're out there, you're not hooping and hollering and screaming and debating, but you are giving hard answers. You're letting your no be no and your yes be yes. As a feminine woman, knowing how to have sternness while still being soft is almost like an art form. And that's only something that the Spirit of God can teach you. And that's only something that you can develop within yourself as you mature and grow in your confidence and self love and self worth as a woman. So when you're no longer eager to please people and you now understand that you are just as valuable as the next person, your well being, your comfort is just as valuable as the next person, that's when you begin to have self respect. Number one, I used to kind of be a people pleaser. I can't say that I was a full blown people pleaser because when I get uncomfortable, I'm not dealing with anything. I will literally shut down holidays if people get too crazy or make things too complicated. So I've never really struggled with being a people pleaser, but I did feel very uncomfortable when I laid down boundaries and I felt like people were not pleased with what I said. If I told somebody no, I did kind of carry that with me later on into the evening, thinking, what do they think of me now because I said this? What do they think of me now because I didn't do this? Yeah, I used to be that kind of person. So I would give a yes, I would give a no, I would stand on my boundaries, but then I would hold on to that and really beat up on myself because I feel like I let somebody down. That's how I struggled with people pleasing. But I always still stood on my boundaries and didn't put myself in situations that made me feel too uncomfortable or something I just knew wasn't right in order to please other people. So when you stop trying to be a people pleaser, you will start developing self respect. Number two way to gain self respect as a woman is to stop looking to the culture, to society, to tell you how to be as a woman. A lot of what you see out here today is women who are glorifying messiness. They glorify having disgusting bodies, and I'm just going to have to say the way it is because a lot of women, they're celebrating all this body positivity and all of that. Body positivity is wonderful, but that does not mean you have to appear naked everywhere you go. And when a woman doesn't have self respect, she feels like the only way she can get attention from males, from men, or from anybody for that matter is to remove her clothing. When you are a woman that has self respect, you understand that you can be fully clothed and still get the respect, the admiration, the attention from all people. You don't have to remove a stitch of clothing. And I'm not saying that as in women should be ashamed of their bodies, because no, women should not be ashamed of their bodies. But it's something about having class and decorum. It's something about having discretion as a woman. It's that saying that just because you can doesn't mean you should. Some women might be, amazing strippers, okay? You might know how to work a pole just as good as the next one. That doesn't mean that you should. As a feminine, classy, gracious woman with self respect, you don't do things just because you are trying to blend in with what society and what you see around you. Not all women, but many women today, they are ratchet and very nasty in nature. Of course, growing up in the 90s, there were songs out that, women talked about their bodies, but it wasn't to the point where women are now describing the insides of their anatomy. They're describing the insides of everybody's anatomy and what they want done. And, just they're very vulgar in their language. when you have self-respect for yourself as a woman, you can't even speak that way. And I'm not saying, because I can hear somebody saying or thinking right now that, oh, so being a feminine woman means that you're a prude, where you can't express your sensuality or sexuality and all these different things. You can express that, but I'm going to say exactly how it is. When you are a woman and you're married, that is reserved for your husband. And that's not to say that when you're in public, if you're a beautiful, attractive woman, that's going to radiate when you're in public. You don't have to do much for somebody to see that you're an attractive, beautiful, voluptuous, maybe even sexy woman. If that comes natural for you, it's going to show. You don't have to do a thing. A woman who lacks self-respect feels like, okay, I have to do this in order for this to happen. But when a woman is just naturally that way, her overall vibe, her overall essence, the way she carries herself, the way that she moves, that's going to be attractive. So what it comes down to is today women are trying too hard to get attention rather than just being themselves and allowing their natural uniqueness to draw people to them. As I said before in previous videos, as feminine women, we do not chase, we attract people. And we're not doing it from a place like we're setting up strategies and trying to do different things to get the attention of people. It might sound conceited, but for a feminine, gracious, classy woman, it really doesn't take that much. And if you are a woman that has self-respect, you will not feel comfortable showing the delicate parts of yourself that should only be reserved for yourself and your husband, fiance. You don't feel comfortable doing that. You don't feel comfortable throwing it all in the air for somebody else that is getting a free look at something that is so precious, such as your body. And that's the issue. Women don't value their bodies and understand that your body is precious. Your body was designed by God. The feminine body is beautiful. A woman's body is beautiful no matter how it's shaped. And there's so many different ways we can beautify ourselves and treat our bodies. And as far as the outer and the external and the internal, the way we get to take care of our bodies and perfumes and treatments and, the way we get to glam ourselves up if we want to. The feminine body is so precious and so valuable. So for a woman to treat it like an outhouse, as the old folks used to say back in the day, there's nothing beautiful or self-respecting about that. So the second way you can gain and show self-respect as a feminine woman is to show discretion with your body. Use subtle movements. If you are a feminine woman and you are beautiful and you love your body, you love your movements, you love the way you look, you should be confident. And as a feminine woman, just because you're not willing to put all of your body on full display for everybody, that doesn't mean you lack confidence. That means you have self-worth and self-respect. Sometimes I look in the mirror and I see my body and I know I'm that girl. I see the looks. I hear my husband, the way he compliments me and the way he's constantly grabbing at me, the way I feel about myself. Sidebar, somebody commented on my tattoo in one of the shorts that I put. And I said, like, if you want to be seen as a high value woman, stop partaking in ratchet behavior. And they pointed out, said, well, what about chest tattoos? And they were talking about the tattoo I have on my chest. And it says sexy with lips. Now, I got this tattoo when I was 18 years old. Back then, and still now, I was feeling myself a whole lot. I felt like I am sexy. Do I feel that way today? Absolutely. But would I get it tattooed on my chest at the age of 38? Probably not. But I got this when I was 18 years old. And that really, for me, like I said, I was feeling myself and I still am. But the difference now with my maturity is that while no, I don't really hide my tattoo. I hide it a little bit. I don't have it all on full display, but what's done is done. But as a feminine woman, I say that to say you can feel a certain way about yourself. I got this tattoo when I was 18 years old. Back then, I didn't have the Lord. I didn't know nothing about discretion. I wasn't dressing crazy, but again, it was all out. I didn't care, you know? But now, as I've matured and as God has shown me how to be that feminine woman, I now show a little bit more discretion. So the placement of my tattoo, it is where it is. And I'm not going to be ashamed of that because you live and you learn. And I still very much think that I am a very attractive woman. So I say that to say that you can have confidence, but you can also show discretion. And that's what I do out of respect for myself, for my husband. I don't normally put the lips on display, but the S, the wording, you can still kind of see it. It is what it is. But I'm not walking around like, what they be doing. The tongue is constantly out. The fingers are constantly up, the middle fingers. You can have a million tattoos. And I'm not saying go and get tattoos because looking back, and this is my opinion, it's not really feminine to have a lot of tattoos that are within eye shot of everybody. I'm not saying, and this is my moral belief now, not to get them, but if you do have them, make them dainty, make them, beautiful. Not like a whole sleeve or you got face tattoos or teardrops. And, we're not trying to look hard like we've been in the prison yard all day. That's not really the look you want to go for as a feminine woman. But the point of me saying this is the way you carry yourself. You can have that tattoo sleeve that you got when you was 18, 19, 20 years old, and you're now in your 30s and your 40s and your 50s. But when a woman has a tattoo, it doesn't have anything to do with the way she carries herself as a woman. So if you did something in your past, you was 18, like me. I was 18. I got this tattoo. I remember me and my friend went there when I got off of work. We're working in the mall. And I'm sitting there and she's playing Michael Jackson on her phone, trying to make me comfortable. And I'm just sitting there, just waiting for them to do it. And, I was a teenager. Just because I have that tattoo from the time I was a teenager, that has nothing to do with my femininity and how I carry myself now. Contrary to what people believe, people do change. People do live and learn. And as you grow as a woman, you'll begin to see, no, I'm not going to do that now. I did it then, but I'm moving differently now because I'm a more mature woman. And I see that that's not really the vibe I want to give off. That's not really how I want to carry myself. So while I know and believe, and you should and know and believe that you're an attractive woman, we're not walking around like, that kind of thing. Now, I'm not saying there's not a place for that, but just your overall way of carrying yourself, we do it with class. So the second way you know that you have self-respect as a feminine woman, you show discretion with your body. You value your body and treat it as precious. You do not treat your body like it's just something to be on display for everybody. Because believe it or not, everybody should not have access to your body. Everybody should not get to see all of the delicate details of your body. You have to treat your body like it's precious. And again, I don't care what it looks like. If you have flab, if you are not the best shape, that's not the point. You're a woman. Like God put us here as a compliment to the man. Like we are to be their helpmate, but we make them look good, and it's not about them. It's not about them. You look good for yourself. But I'm saying that to say that you're a jewel. And if more women treated themselves like precious jewels, they would be more careful with how they treat their bodies. Number 2, treat your body as precious. Use discretion. I'm going to take a drink of my coffee and read some of your comments. Yes, very, very true. It's a lack of. Women set the tone. If women set more boundaries, men would follow suit. Absolutely. And I know that, men are to be the leaders, but a lot of women don't understand. And it took me time to understand as I went on in my marriage that my husband is the head, he's the leader, but really he's following my lead. You ever hear the saying that men are the head, but women are the neck? I believe that to be true because men really do kind of vibe off of what you do. When my husband saw that I was really into like business and, writing books and doing all those kind of things, that made him get more so into what he does. And he starts asking me questions about different things and starts telling me about what he's doing. Next thing I know, we're having these like next level conversations that we weren't having before. It's because he sees how I'm moving. And men, well, like I said, they're the lead, but they're not God. And they're growing just as much as we are. And when they have a high value woman in their life on their arm, and it's not always their wife or their girlfriend, I mean, they could have a high value mother, a high value sister. When they have a woman that has that feminine, powerful influence in their life, men start moving differently. But if they have a woman in their life that is only concerned with going out, making sure that she looks a certain way when they go out, but she doesn't have anything to add to the relationship or to that setting or whatever they're doing, if she can't elevate his life in some way, then she's just a shell. So yes, men absolutely vibe off of what we do, especially if he's a masculine man. I'm not saying men that want to copy our style, like to be feminine and things like that. Masculine men love when we have our stuff together. They do. And when I say have our stuff together, I'm not saying like you have to have all the money in the world. You have to have, conglomerates building businesses. You could simply be a woman that keeps her appearance together and focuses on her spirituality. And that's not simple. But if you're a woman that, outside of him, you have other things going on. And that's another way you can show self respect too, by not making a man the whole center of your world, even if you're married. People respect you more for that, and you respect yourself because you understand that you have goals outside of someone else. But men absolutely love that. My husband, when he sees me busy doing what I'm doing, or either, he might come home and I'm upstairs doing my hair, and, I've got my foot soaked and I'm just taking care of myself. He loves that. And I've even seen him, I see him walking down the steps and he's smirking a little bit, like he's smiling. Like it makes him feel good because number one, he's coming into a house that's peaceful. There's no chaos, there's no turmoil. I'm just focusing on myself, my kids. He'll ask me, did they eat? And I'm like, I think so, and that's it. And he sees me doing what I'm doing. Men absolutely vibe off of us. When he sees me happy and just taking care of myself, he'll come downstairs and do whatever he's doing, and it's fine. And those are simple things. Can you imagine the bigger things? If you're a woman that knows how to subtly suggest things to a man and not browbeat him over the head with your demands, if you're able to make moves or at least create the illusion of making moves, that'll cause him, if he's a masculine man, to make moves also. The career field that my husband is in now, he wasn't in that career field 2 years ago. With me doing different things, and it's not because of me, but I truly believe that I did influence him in that way because it was something we had talked about previously, and then all of a sudden this comes to fruition. You can't tell me God is not real, number one. And then number two, men love when we are a woman that, how can I say it? We're not we're not a clown, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know how to say it. Like, you're a woman that, you look beautiful, you keep yourself together, but you also are business savvy, or you just have wisdom. Having wisdom as a woman, that's another way you can have self-respect. For me, I get wisdom from God. I get wisdom from the scriptures. I get wisdom from spending that time with them. And then I also get intellectual and intellect and learn different skills from just doing different research. When you are a well-learned woman, when you like to educate yourself, when you like to keep up with your spirituality, that is something that's also going to give you a sense of self-worth and self-respect, because you got something going on in your head. You know that nobody can come along and just tell you anything. You keep yourself leveled up in that way, spiritually, mentally, educationally wise. And when I say keeping up with your education, you don't have to go out here and spend $50,000, $60,000 in order to get an education, to get a degree and do all these different things. Nothing wrong with it. I've done it. But you can simply go online and learn new skills, learn new things. when you do that, that makes you feel good about yourself as a woman. And it also shows the man in your life, back to the comment, that he has a woman of substance. And when a woman has self respect, she is a woman of substance. She's not just, up on pop culture only. Nothing wrong with knowing pop culture if that's your thing, but you should know more than just what's going on with the housewives and what's going on with Diddy and all these other things. Now, I think at this point, we all know what's going on with Diddy. It's crazy and whatever, but I digress. But you have to know more than just those things. And when you show that you are a woman of intellect, you might not even look like it. Trust me, being a young Black woman in the industries that I have worked in, many people will look at me and think a certain way, and I can tell that they think a certain way by how they start their conversations. And then by the time we are done with the conversation, they're talking to me in a whole different way because they didn't know that I understood exactly what they were talking about. They didn't expect for me to have that deep level conversation with them, all because they just looked and said, "Oh, this young Black lady, she don't know about this, she don't know that." Absolutely, I actually do know about banking. I absolutely do know about whatever other topic you want to discuss. Consumer issues. I know how to help you build your credit. I know how to help you get the benefits you need if you have a child doing this, because I understand this. When you are a woman of substance, people, because of your outer, and this is prejudice, this has nothing to do with you. You might not be able to control this. And this is even more reason why, as a woman of self-respect and high value, you always have to be learning and growing, because it's something about seeing the look on people's face when you say something that they didn't expect. When they expected for you to just be another stereotype and didn't know anything about it, and they're like in awe. And this is not just for people of the opposite race. If you're a Black woman, this is even with your own, your own other, Black sisters or brothers, because, some of us, and this is a little bit of off topic, but, some of us can be a little bit, and I know I've heard from myself that I can be a little bit whatever, but some can be very bougie. And they think because they look a certain way or they live in a certain demographic that certain people might not understand what they're talking about. But when you open your mouth as a woman and you're able to say more than just what they expect, that kind of blows them out the water. I hope that makes sense. And this was all off topic. But back to having self-respect as a woman. When you actually take time to educate yourself and learn new skills and do things that are going to make you feel good and make you feel like you are a woman that is well-rounded. And that's what it comes down to, being a well-rounded woman. Many women are being taught that femininity is just how you look. And of course, your looks play a part in your femininity. However, you can be a woman, really, you could be a woman that's wearing jeans, a t-shirt, and have your hair pulled back in a ponytail and still be feminine. That has more to do with how you want to present and not so much your actual femininity. Now, for me, I'm a woman that likes to wear, more feminine styles. Of course, right now I have on a black tank, but I like my shoulders out. I think I've said that in previous videos. But when you're a well-rounded woman, it's not just about how you look. You take pride in knowing that you have a relationship with God. You take pride in knowing that you know a skill, you learn a new language, you know something other than just the filth that's being fed to you in the world. So number 3 way to develop self-respect is to learn and be a woman that is well-rounded and be able to converse with many people. You might not be, a rocket scientist, but if you are ever looking for ways to build up your skills and knowledge and your wisdom, you want to be a woman of wisdom, that is something that is to be respected, and you will gain more self-respect as a woman. You look at your other comments. Hi, Denise. Miss Denise, how you doing? It's nice to be live with you. I watch all your videos. Oh, I appreciate you, Christina. I absolutely appreciate you. Yes, here in Atlanta, a lot of women are walking around cursing, underwear showing. It's insane. And I've heard a lot about Atlanta. I've never been there. I want to go to Atlanta just to kind of get the experience and see how it is. But I have heard that about Atlanta. And I can tell you that Atlanta is more than likely not the only city, because I know here in my city you see the same kind of things. So, but I have heard a lot about Atlanta. I've heard that, you know, there's like not that many men, so there's like 5 women to every man or something like that. It's just, yeah, I've heard a lot. But I know that within every city you have women that are a little messy, or, and like I said, it all comes down to what's being celebrated. When you constantly have promotion that's telling women, get naked, get wretched, do this, do that, and they don't have any, they're not strong enough in their mind. If a woman's going to be strong anywhere, be strong enough in your mind to know when somebody is setting you up. And I think that's what a lot of women don't understand, that the image that's being portrayed for women, it's not healthy, it's not good. And I think we're in an age where women are like, I'll do anything for money. And when a woman has self-respect, number 4, you're not willing to do anything for money. When you develop a healthy level of self-respect, you understand that money comes to you, that money is something very minor because it's a resource that God put out there for us to have. So you know and understand that you have multiple ways of getting money, so you're not willing to do anything for it. You're not willing to sacrifice your body. You're not willing to sacrifice your, I'm not saying time, because that's what employment is, but as you mature as a woman and you lean more into your femininity, you'll even see that you don't have to work around the clock to make money if you really take time to tap into your skills, gifts, and talents as a woman. And what does this have to do with self-respect? I'll tell you, just for me and how I've been feeling lately, and I tell my husband this, and he tells me, it's up to you. I feel like the fact that I have to ask somebody or let somebody know when I'm going to the restroom, that bothers me. And it's starting to bother me more and more as I grow and my knowledge and understanding as a woman. I feel like as women, and this is just my opinion, I think we all should have our own businesses, whether it be a side business or your main business. I think as women, we should always have multiple sources of income, because having to rely on somebody else to tell us when we can go on vacation, when we can go on break to eat lunch, I know that this is just the way it is in our Western culture, but I think we've gotten so far away from spiritual womanhood that we are now subjecting ourselves to things that are suppressing us as women, such as working crazy hours. And when you have, how does this tie into self-respect? Because when you have self-respect, you now understand that you don't have to accept any job that comes at you. You don't have to just grab onto any opportunity just because. You don't make desperate moves. A lot of women, especially in the music and entertainment industries, they are doing different jobs and working on different projects because money calls. A lot of women, when you hear them speak during interviews and in private conversations, I'm sure they are just as sweet, just as calm, just as humble as can be. But when you see them in these music videos, you see them at these award shows, they are like filth, just as ratchet as they want to be. And even let's bring it to the regular world here in everyday life. You have some women that are willing to step over anybody in order to get what they want. You have women willing to sleep with bosses and co-workers and doing all these messy things in order to climb their way to the top. And then let's take it to the personal level. You have women that are willing to rob retirement homes, geriatric sections, break into convalescent homes in order to get a man that's barely breathing to get his money. And I know that's controversial to say, and I know it's counterculture, and I know it's opposite to what's being taught. And I don't understand how women think that that's being self-respecting and high value when you have settled on being with a man who's barely breathing in order to get his money. For me, and this is just my opinion as a woman, I think I deserve better than that. I'm not disrespecting older people. We're all going to get older. I'm disrespecting the women that resort to getting these men who are barely breathing in order to get money. What that says to me is that you have so little self-worth, so little self-respect, and you're so desperate that you're not willing to wait for the right man to come along. You don't feel that you are worthy of a man that is still able to keep up with you, loves you genuinely, truly understands who you are and is not confused about who you are, and has enough resources to provide for you. Because there are men like that out there. You don't have to settle. And women, and this is my opinion, of course, but women who, and I'm saying this because this is what's being promoted. Get you a man that's older so that you know he has everything together. And I'm not saying regular older because my husband is 8 years older than me. I'm saying get a man that's 25, 30, 40 years older than you in order to secure the bag. To me, a woman that truly is feminine, number one, and has self respect, she wants someone in her life that's going to be able to truly, genuinely love on her and spend time with her and appreciate her. How can you be a woman that's self-respecting and you're not thinking about love? You're not thinking about what you truly need, because you have to think about this. As a woman, you have true needs, you have regular needs, and then you have core needs. What do you need at your core? A lot of women are with men who have money, but their core needs is not being met. Meaning, her needs are being met because she has a man that has money, which means they're not going to be sitting in the dark. She doesn't have to worry about food, clothing, shelter, none of that. But she's lacking affection. She's lacking time. She's lacking attention. She's lonely. All because you let society trick you into believing that the only way you can get a man that will do anything for you is to get someone that you're not attracted to, not interested in, just go after the money. A woman with self-respect doesn't do that. This is not an endorsement for a woman to go out and be with a broke man. Absolutely not. Feminine women do not do broke. Feminine women do not do dusties. Feminine women do not do or deal with men that don't understand that it's their job to provide. That's not what I'm saying. I'm speaking as far as self-respect as a woman. When you have self-respect, you do not settle. And women who have done what I just aforementioned, they have settled. I refuse to be with someone all because they have the money. I deserve more than that. When you have self-respect and self-worth and you're high value and you understand that money is pretty much easy to get over time, you don't do things like that. So number 4 way you can show self-respect is to not settle and to not make desperate moves. When a woman is desperate for anything, she settles on a life that she truly does not desire in order to get to an end. And that's not what we do as feminine, self-respecting women. Let me take another sip of my coffee and read your comments. Yes, you are preaching. It has to be more to life than working until you can retire. Absolutely. Look, I'm not working until quote retirement age, which I think now is like 67 or something like that. I'm not saying 67 is old, but your energy and stamina and everything goes down as you get older. I don't want to have to wait until I'm in my 60s, 70s in order to enjoy my life. No, I believe and trust in the skills and gifts and talents that God has given me so that I don't have to work until I'm well into retirement age. And I don't have to work right now, but I think you all know as women, we like the extras. And this is just my belief. For me, if my husband is taking care of what we supposed to have, food, clothing, shelter, everything else, but I have extravagant tastes and I want to do a whole lot more, I'm going to do that. And I see that in myself because I've always been that way. I've always been the type of person that's like, this is not my only option. Like, I never wanted anybody to think like they were my only option, whether it be career wise, personally, whatever. Like, I've always been a woman that always seen life as, I have options. Like, I'm never stuck. And I know how people like to say, you don't want to burn bridges. You want to need them before, what they say? What have I heard? You going to need me before I need you. That kind of stuff. number one, when you have God, you don't think like that. People are people, okay? And people change. So, and careers change. And back in the day, people was loyal to a career. They would stay there for 25, 30, 40 years and then retire and then decide, okay, I'm just sitting back relaxing. Well, I can't wait that long. I don't want to do that. So, absolutely, life is too short. And you given, your time. Like I say, I work for freedom. I don't work really for money. Money is the added bonus, absolutely. But I work for freedom so that I can do the things I want to do, so that I can spend time with my family, so that I can work on different projects, so that, I used to say, I just want to afford to be sick, we can be comfortably sick if we need to. You don't have to worry about all these different things. And when women, when you really just take time to lean back and understand yourself as a woman, you start really understanding that we really are creative beings. Like, God created us just to amplify and to just make things better. I mean, I don't know. I just think that women really need to get a grasp on how much influence that we actually have. Sorry about moving the camera. I just put my leg down, was falling asleep on the couch here. But yes, as women, having self respect, that is something that we must have and must get back to. And many women have lost that. And as feminine women, you don't want to be the type of woman that just accepts anything. You don't want to be the type of woman that says, you know what, maybe I'll try that, because somebody else is doing it. Look at the source. They used to have a saying back in the day, check the source. And this is another thing. Stop following after people who don't have their life together. I'm not saying that everybody is going to be perfect. I am not perfect. But when you come out on the other side of something and you learn and understand that certain ways are not right, certain situations are not worth it, you move differently as a woman. When you've gone through enough to understand that, okay, I'm done dealing with these kind of people. I'm done dealing with this kind of behavior. For goodness sake, like, as feminine women, going back to relationships, you don't want to deal with a man who doesn't respect you. If a man doesn't respect you, he shows it in how he talks to you, how he speaks to you, how he treats you. Do you have peace? Do you feel on edge when you're with him? As feminine women, we like to feel comfortable. And that's one thing that I absolutely love and adore about my husband. From the very beginning, he made me feel comfortable. I never felt like I was in danger with him. I can actually go to sleep in the car with him. I don't feel uneasy. But many women are in relationships with people that they feel uneasy around. And it's unfortunate. If more women had self-worth and self-respect, they wouldn't be with men that will have them caught up in certain situations. How many women have lost their lives because they were dating the wrong type of man that put them in a risky situation, and now they're no longer here. Now their children are no longer here. Their parents are no longer here. All because they accepted something into their life that, if they were using wisdom, divine wisdom, they would have saw all the red flags. But when you are a woman that doesn't have wisdom, you don't have self-respect, you're moving out of desperation, you don't really take the time to really assess the person you're dealing with. And a lot of people like to say, well, you can't judge a book by its cover. No, you can't judge a book by its cover, but you can judge the behaviors of the individual. And when you take time to really get to know somebody, and this is another thing for women when it comes to relationships, feminine women who have self-respect take time to get to know the person that they are with. There's no such thing as, I met him 1 or 2 times, 3 times, and now we're married, we in love. A woman who uses wisdom and good judgment takes her time to get to know someone before she attaches herself to someone. Because believe it or not, I don't know how you believe, you're attaching yourself to spirits. People are spirit carriers, whether it be good or bad. And when you have self-respect, you're not going to invite negative, wicked spirits into your life. If a man has chaos and issues wherever he goes, you're not going to be with that, because the feminine needs peace. The feminine needs comfort and stability. But if you are with someone who was making you uneasy, unsure, uncomfortable, and you really can't trust their judgment, as a woman, You have to have so much self-respect that you say, I'm not going to put up with this. I don't care if the situation gets uncomfortable. I don't care if he doesn't like me. I don't care if he calls me names. I'm done with this situation. So when you develop self-respect as a woman, you just do not put up with much. And many people will look at you like, oh, you can't do this for me. You can't do that for me. The last thing, as a feminine woman with self-respect, you let your yes be yes and your no be no. No over explanations. So when you have self-respect, you have no problem saying no. And you don't have to say no. You don't have to do that. But you just simply say, no, I don't want to do that. Or no, that doesn't make me feel comfortable. Or somebody asks you, can you watch my kids for me? You don't want to say, yeah, I would. You know, I love your kids. I absolutely adore them. But just say, no, that's not going to work for me this weekend. And leave it at that. Simple as that. We have to get comfortable saying no. If you are constantly a woman who is trying to over explain everything, and I used to be that way, I used to be the kind of person who wanted to kind of over explain my moves, over explain my actions. I really needed people to understand that I'm a good person. I just don't want to do this because I don't know what happened, but when I got into my 30s, all that over explaining went out the window. The only person that I will kind of explain things to is my husband. And that's because I love and respect him. But even that stops at an extent. All that over explaining and trying to make sure that people are okay with you, while as feminine women, we don't seek out to piss people off. We don't do that. We don't seek to have issues with people. But when you respect yourself, you don't worry about, especially when you know you're justified. I'm not saying you're being mean, you're showing mean girl energy, all of that. But no matter what you do, when you stand on your principles, and even when you know in your mind and your heart you're doing what's right for yourself, some people just can't accept no from you. They're used to yes all the time. They're used to you being a woman that just let them do and say whatever they want. And the moment you put up boundaries, that's when people will have a problem with you. I experienced that in my own life with one of my very close family members. For goodness sake, I'll tell you, and it's going to sound so crazy. My family member, he couldn't understand that I couldn't drop what I was doing in order to go somewhere with him. Bear in mind, he asked me to do something for him at 1:30 in the afternoon. My children get out of school at 2:30 in the afternoon. So he wanted me to possibly miss picking my kids up from school in order to drive all the way across town to do something with him. I said no. I got to pick the kids up at this time. And he knows I had to pick up my kids at that time, which goes to show you that people are just as selfish at moments. So as a feminine woman, you really shouldn't have any issue. As a self-respecting woman with boundaries, you really shouldn't have any issue telling somebody no, because most people are going to think about themselves first anyway. I know it's not right, but that's just the way it is. So as a feminine woman, as a self-respecting woman, I told him no. I have to pick up my kids, his niece and nephew. And he knew this. And ever since then, I'm the mean one, all this kind of stuff he says about me. You're bougie. Oh, y'all over there floating around in white robes. All this kind of foolishness. I can tell you some things that I've heard from different family members, all because, as they say, I stand 10 toes down on what I believe and what I do in my life. Like when you really begin to value your life, and God has created your life to be peaceful, if you've gotten through things and you used to have like a chaotic life, or, your life really wasn't what you wanted it to be, and now you're more at peace, best believe that people are going to come along, whether it be strangers or most of the time it's family members and friends that are accustomed to you being all over the place, or they're not accustomed to you having boundaries. The moment you set those boundaries, they're going to have a problem with you. And there's nothing you can do about it except stand firm in what your boundaries are and not let anybody make you feel bad about having them. When you have self-respect, you're not going to let somebody cause chaos and turmoil in your household, in your mind. You're not going to do any of that. You're going to let them be mad. As long as they're mad from a distance, you're going to still love them, because that family member, if they called me today They can come over my house. We can sit here, sip tea, coffee, snacks, and it'll be just like the next day. As a feminine woman, as a divine, feminine, wise woman, we don't hold grudges. We don't hold grudges. We don't have resentment. You shouldn't have resentment. We just move on. And we allow people to either accept or move on from our lives. But we don't just try to, well, let me try to scale back my boundaries or not be like this because they didn't really like that. Who are they? And how do they impact your life? You have to value yourself so much so that you are willing to say, I respect myself, my life, my peace of mind, that I'm not going to allow somebody to infringe on that. So let me sip some more of my coffee. This live is going pretty long, but this is comfortable. I feel very comfortable. I hope you all enjoy this live too, because I'm going to try to go live more often. I can't believe I've been on here for almost a year now. And I really absolutely love doing these videos. I love adding value. I love speaking to women. I don't know, like as I've grown as a woman and I've been through some life, I really love women and I really value and appreciate who we are and who we can be as women. The more I grow in my spirituality and understand how God created us to be as women, I just want to share that. And I want more women to understand that they don't have to just go along being the way they have been. They don't have to be in their masculine energy all the time. We don't even have masculine energy. Yes, we have testosterone. We have that hormone testosterone, but that doesn't mean you have masculine energy. That's a whole scientific thing that I cannot explain, and I'm not going to pretend to. But I just got tired of being in my masculine. I got tired of moving and operating the way men are supposed to or the way men do. I got really tired, and my body told me that I was tired when I had that anxiety and panic attack back in 2015. My body literally told me, sis, you're doing too much. Relax. Like my body literally told me that. And I know that was God slowing me down because I was doing so much. And of course, because we are accustomed to being overworked here in our culture, especially if you're in the United States, you become so accustomed to being overworked, stressed out. You see these things as normal, and really it's not. It's not normal to be stressed out. It's not normal to come home and not really be able to get a good night's sleep. It's not normal to be so stressed out in your body that when you go to the restroom, you really can't get comfortable enough. I know that might have been TMI, but I know some women know what I'm talking about, where you're so stressed in your body that you really got to like concentrate in order to even do something that should come natural. That's not the way that's supposed to be as a woman, as a person, period. But I speak to women. We're so stressed, so overworked, so worried here in our culture. We have accepted this as normal, and it's not. It's not normal to be stressed out. I refuse. And as a woman, and for me, when I read those scriptures and I see what God says about women and who the assignment was really given to, I know that that's not his will for me to constantly be overworked and stressed out, feet hurt, back hurt, neck hurt. It's not. I refuse. Nobody can tell me that as a woman, that is, my lot in life. No, no, nope. So I've always been a person that's like, okay, what can I do the easy way? And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. As a woman, you should be wanting to do what's easiest for you. What's going to be easy on your mind, what's going to be easy on your spirit, what's going to be easy on your body, most importantly. Of course, in this life, we will have challenges. We're going to have trials, but that doesn't mean that you have to go looking for them. They're going to come and you'll be ready to deal with them. But as women, we need to make things as easy for ourselves as possible because we do a lot. We do a lot, especially if you're a wife. I'm not saying single women don't do a lot, but if you're a wife, you're a mother, you're doing a lot just keeping human beings alive. By the grace of God, of course, he's keeping them alive. But you know what I mean. You're making sure they're clothed, they're fed, they're taken care of, they're loved, they're nurtured, they're reassured. You're making sure that they, have a relationship with God, that they're decent human beings. And then you have your husband. You nurture him, you love on him, you enjoy his company, you make him feel reassured as a man, you stroke his ego, you encourage him, you give him your body, you give him food, you take care of the home. And you do these things joyfully, but it's a lot. Any woman, whether she's happily married or not, she's going to tell you it's a lot sometimes. And you have to make time for yourself as a woman. And with doing those God-given things that are joys to do, then you got to go to work, then you got to do these other things. It's a bit much. And as women, I think we need to start trying to make things a little bit easier for ourselves, because having children is a blessing. Having a husband is a blessing. Going out to work, being able to provide, that's a blessing. But how you're doing it is going to be up to you. And that's where your femininity, your wisdom, just how you move and how you do things come into play. As a woman, you should always be wanting to make things as comfortable and easy for yourself. I'm teaching my daughter that. As you get older, you always do things that make yourself feel comfortable. Around that time, you know what time I'm talking about, ladies. Do things that make you feel comfortable. If you have to rest, if you can, you rest. Get your heating pad, get your tea, get your snacks. Make yourself feel comfortable. Don't feel like you have to just go, go, go. I really believe God gave us that time during the month for us to slow down and let our system kind of just recharge and renew. But even in our Western culture here in the United States, women still have to work during that time. Many women aren't allotted the luxury of being able to just sit home and just rest. And I get that. But I think it's because how we've been programmed that we just got to keep pushing, got to keep moving. No, maybe during that time, those 5 or 4 days, 6 days, you need to just rest, rejuvenate your body so that when that's over, you can come out with new, fresh ideas and thoughts and feeling renewed in your mind and in your body. But we're not taught that way. We're taught to just keep pushing. We need to get past that as women. We need to get people accustomed to seeing us resting. Many people, they're not used to seeing us resting. They're used to seeing women running all over the place, doing everything for everybody. God forbid you rest and give yourself a moment. God forbid you actually say, no, I'm tired. I'm not going to work today. No, I'm tired. Y'all can eat cereal for dinner. I remember the first time I did that with my children. And this was not too long ago because I'm a mom that always cooks. But I remember it had to be like last year. I was tired. I told my daughter, I said, y'all go ahead and eat some of that cereal. You can eat some cereal. She said, for dinner? I'm like, yes, for dinner. For dinner. Go ahead and get you a bowl of cereal, whatever. There's stuff in there. I'm not cooking. And something as simple as that, just takes a little bit off of your plate. Because I know for many of us women who were trying to be these super women, trying to be these super moms, super wives, I know earlier on, especially with me being a Christian, I was like, okay, I have to make sure dinner is done. I got to make sure this, make sure that, make sure this and that. And yes, of course, I do those things. But when I needed to rest, I looked at myself as lazy. I'm being real with you. Back then, when I first got married in like 2006, 2005, 2006, if I didn't check off all of my to-dos, I felt very lazy, like I didn't do anything. I felt like my husband wasn't pleased with me because I didn't cook a dinner and I went and got chicken from a place. It was really like that bad. And now that I understand that my value comes from more than just what I can do, even for my family. And my family, and I believe your family, actually respects you more and values you more and treats you more gentle when you also start saying things like, I'm tired. Y'all go ahead and eat some cereal. Get that TV dinner. Make yourself a snack. Tell your husband, honey, I love you. Here you go. Your food is on the way. There's been many times my husband has walked in the door and I said, I called the pizza place. Your veggie pizza will be here soon. Or I got you a cheesesteak. And that doesn't mean that I'm any less of a woman because I didn't cook. No, that's not the totality of who I am as a woman. It's actually just something I do. It's not really has nothing to do with me as a woman, just what I do. I really think we have a distorted view on like what womanhood is, even from a spiritual standpoint. Being a wife, a Christian woman, if you're a Christian woman, that doesn't mean that all you do is cook and clean. You can still be a woman of industry. You can still be a woman who likes to, start businesses and, bring in different resources, different forms of income. You could be a coach, such as myself, and be a content creator and an author. You can do these different things. You don't have to just be one thing. That's the wonderful thing about being a woman. We are multifaceted. And when you're a feminine woman, people tend to think they know you and they really never know you. Like, I know a lot of people, when they found out that I was an author, they're like, oh, you write books? I'm like, yeah. Why you never said anything? And that's my fault because, you take that humility to the extreme. And I know for me, and I'm still trying to come out of that shell. I don't really tell too many people what I'm doing because I don't want to appear less humble. But even the word says you have not because you ask not. But I digress. But the point being is that we're multifaceted. And you don't have to be this Susie homemaker. And you also don't have to be ratchet and add and all that. We are very unique as feminine women. And your value doesn't just come from what you do for other people, is my point. So if those kids have to eat leftovers, there's been many times where I'll make a dinner that'll last 2 nights, 3 nights max, depending on what it is. But normally I'll do like a dinner that's going to last 2 nights because especially when I'm home and it's like, okay, I work, but I know I mainly work part-time. So if I know I have days off, like 2, 3 days in a row, I'm not going to be in the kitchen cooking those 2, 3 days. Absolutely not. The dinner I made that Monday is going to last up until Wednesday, depending on what it is, or it'll last up until the next day. We just really have to do things that's going to make life easier for ourselves. My kids are at the age where they can do their own laundry, but some of us, we want to be in control of everything. So I had to make sure this, make sure that. Now I'm like, okay, if she doesn't do this, I guess her clothes will just be wrinkled. I'm not going to worry about it. They're okay. We really have to think about things like this as women. And really, we put pressure on ourselves trying to be perfect. And when you're trying to constantly be perfect, and being feminine is not being perfect. I know I've seen some videos where women are saying, oh, these trad wives, this performance femininity. When you are truly a feminine woman, you understand that you're not perfect, and nor are you trying to be. But what women don't understand, there's a balance between being perfect and being ratchet. Just because you're not a perfect woman, that doesn't mean you don't have any, discretion or boundaries. I'm not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm perfect enough to keep my clothes on when I go out in public. That doesn't take perfection. That just takes common decency. But back to making things easier for ourselves, we must do that. We have to do that as women. This is me now. My body tells me I'm tired. Listen to your body. I know it's hard because it was hard for me, but I developed when I got to my 30s, I had the anxiety attack and the panic, and I developed acid reflux. And that all I believe was caused from me constantly worrying and overworking. So listen to your body. Many of us have been taught to feel like we are weak because we decide to listen to our bodies. I used to feel that way. I used to always feel like I should be able to push past this. I should be able to just keep going. Like, I still struggle with that sometimes today. When I'm tired, I'm on my phone, just like my eyes are heavy and I'm still just trying to go. I'm still trying to go. My husband, what are y'all eating? Leftovers from yesterday. You see me telling him in real time. My husband just asked me, what are y'all eating? Leftovers from yesterday. I'm going to make a salad, but I made my rendition of Spanish rice and with the rice and the olives and the chicken and all of that. He loves that. My kids love it, so that's what they eating today. Leftovers from yesterday, honey. He's on his way home. But listen to your body. Listen to your body, because I didn't listen to my body and I developed acid reflux and I had anxiety and panic attacks. That stuff is not fun. When I had the anxiety, it came on me out of nowhere. And I was completely doing the most back then, because I remember I used to work at the bank in 2015, and I came home. My husband, he was working at night then. So put my kids to bed and all of that. And I used to watch a lot of occult and cult documentaries and all that kind of stuff. I was watching the cult documentary about Jim Jones. I was watching that on Netflix, and I had my little glass of Moscato next to me, and I had some cherries and whipped cream. I never forget. I was watching that, and sometime during that time, I fell asleep. All of a sudden, I was jolted out of my sleep, and my heart was racing. I felt like I needed to throw up, and I had to go to the bathroom at the same time. We're talking. This is exactly how I felt. I didn't even know my husband had came home from work, because this was like 3 o'clock in the morning when this happened. I ran in the room because I fell asleep on the couch. I told him, I said, I don't know what's wrong. I said, I don't feel good. I went to the hospital, emergency room. Long story short, they did all the EKGs, all these kind of testing, just for them to tell me that it's psychological. For me, I'm like, you're telling me I'm a nut. Like, I'm not a nut. And I'm not being insensitive to anybody, but I'm like, you're telling me there's something mentally wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with me mentally. I don't have no issues mentally. I'm here because my heart is racing, and it's something else. No, it was anxiety. So naturally, they tried to put me on medication. I took that medication one time. I'm like, okay, I needed to like relax, but I still need to be able to take care of my kids. So I got off of the lorazepam. I'm not doing that. I took that for like 2 days and was like, no, I can't do this. And I asked God, I said, just show me how to get rid of this. Bear in mind, during this time, I was still working, but then I went on leave from work. So I went on leave. During that time, I was still being jolted out of my sleep every night. I was like waking up. I would go to sleep for maybe 45 minutes to an hour tops, and I'm jolted back out of my sleep again. I have an exercise bike, a spin bike. And at that time, we lived in an apartment, so I had it over in the corner. Everybody's sleeping during 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm on the spin bike trying to exhaust myself enough so that I am tired enough to go to sleep. That's how bad the anxiety was. I had to like wear myself out in order to just go to sleep. That's how bad it was. I started taking natural herbs. I was taking valerian root and catnip tea and lemon balm tea, which absolutely works. If you deal with anxiety or just a little stress, drink some lemon balm tea. I was doing all of that. And then I started going back to church. I got involved with the church, and, I started getting closer to God again. And the last thing that finally healed me from my anxiety, which was the hardest thing to do, I let go of the job. The job was stressing me so much. I was out of balance. And I'm not going to give you the full story, but I was out of balance. So I quit that job. And that was a good paying job. I was working in finance. I had been in finance for 8 years. And I had been at that specific bank for 3.5 years, almost 4 years. I quit the job. When I quit that job, it's like a weight was lifted off my shoulders. The money was gone, but I still had some money from, my retirement and all these other bonuses and all that kind of stuff. So I was okay, but it was like I could breathe. And do you know, during that time, I had to fight that self-talk, that guilt of feeling guilty about, you left your job. Who does that? Why would you quit that job when you don't have another one? All that, independent, strong Black woman guilt kicked in. But I was taking care of my body. I had lost so much weight because I always had a lump in my throat, because I had anxiety. So every time I tried to swallow something, I felt like I had something in my throat. So I was eating like strawberries, toast, anything that was kind of easy to go down, oatmeal. I couldn't eat like full course meals because I was so anxious. That lasted for like 7 months of my life, until I was like, you know what, God, I'm trusting you. I let this job go. My husband, I love him dearly. He's doing what he's doing, but he had to do more. You got to do more, because I'm not doing nothing right now. That was a conversation we had during our marriage, because he was so used to me being that strong woman that just pushed past anything, pushed past everything. And at that time, I stopped pushing. And he got comfortable, as most men will get comfortable with you being a strong warrior woman. But when he saw that I'm just that feminine woman, I'm that woman of God that's precious and valuable and delicate, and she not going to just keep pushing, that's when he stepped up. I praise God for that panic attack and anxiety that I went through, because that is what caused me to lean more into my femininity, get closer to God, number one, but to lean into my femininity and really begin to lean into my womanhood. I started to understand that you can't go that way. You can't keep doing this like this. The next job I got into, I worked at GNC. I was the assistant manager at GNC because I love fitness. I know about herbs and nutrition, and I worked there for like 2 years, and I absolutely loved it. Was it making the kind of money that I was making in finance? Absolutely not. But was I at peace and enjoying myself? Absolutely, I was. And I was talking to people about fitness, and I was having a good time. Look, sometimes you have to take a step back and kind of like just start over as a woman. And you can't be ashamed about that. I feel like he's texting me a lot. No. I already have anxiety and panic attacks. I'm 29. I have to exercise to not have them out of nowhere, just like that. But mine came with vertigo. I don't know much about vertigo other than the fact that it kind of makes you dizzy, right? Yeah, I tell you, having anxiety and panic, it sucks. And of course, over time, all of us experience some level of anxiety or anxiousness. But for me, and this just a little quick spiritual lesson, scripture says to be anxious for nothing, but by prayer and supplication, let your requests be made known to God. And I don't want to butcher the rest, but be anxious for nothing is the part that I take out of that. And I really meditate on that often. And I wasn't just anxious about work stuff, I was anxious about just life in general. I have two children, and my son is on the autism spectrum. So when he was younger, I worried about him so much. And I still worry about my kids. I think that just comes with being a mother. You're going to have concerns and worries about your children. But he used to take the school bus. My stomach and his speech was not the way it is now. It wasn't really where it should be for his age level back then. So he took the school bus. And if the school bus was running 2 minutes late, my stomach was in knots. I was at the door looking down the street. Where's my son? Where's the school bus? I had the bus aid number and the actual transit company. I had everybody's number on speed dial, just in case that bus didn't pull up in 5 minutes. I even researched where the garage is. I would worry about my son so much because he's on that school bus and he can't speak that well. And what's going on? Why are they late? I remember it was a traffic jam or something happened when we lived around the corner from where I live now. His bus was like an hour and a half, almost 2 hours late. I had so many knots in my stomach. I had to go to the other school to get my daughter. So I was afraid I was going to miss him. And then I came back. He's still not there. Bus didn't show up. 2 hours later, my son hops off the school bus. He laughing and joking, got his lunch bag. I'm like, sir, I'm sitting here, my stomach in knots, worried about you. And you get off of here. All I hear is kids laughing in the background. Biden. He's saying his name, Biden. I'm like, but I was so worried about everything. So I didn't just worry about like work stuff and all of that. I was worried about my kids constantly and worried about him, among other things. I think as women, we wear ourselves down sometimes worrying about everything. And while sometimes, you can't help but have certain worries, especially if you're a mother. But what I am learning from a spiritual standpoint, it really just comes from me. I have to trust God more. I have to trust that God loves my children more than I ever could. I love them so much, so he loves them that much more. And when I got to that point, I'm like, okay, please put people in their lives that are going to love them and protect them and care for them when I'm not around. And I just kind of think about that and meditate on that. And now I'm not as worried. And my son's speech is better. And my daughter, she's more, outspoken now, not as like, mousy and quiet. I just have to let things kind of go the way they're going, not worry. But it's hard. It's hard. And I say all this to say, I hope you guys are getting something out of this. We put a lot on ourselves and we deal with a lot as women. And that's even more reason why we need to get more rested and just start to lay back and appreciate who we are as women. Get people comfortable with seeing you just relaxing. Don't worry all the time. And don't feel like you need to be doing what everybody else is doing. That's another thing I struggled with in my 20s. If I saw that some family members, okay, she was working in this type of job and she's going to school, she just got her second degree and she's in the gym and she's going here and doing this, I should be able to do that too. Every woman is not that woman. Embrace who you are as a woman. When I began to embrace who I am as a woman, I discovered more about myself. I started seeing that I'm not really the type of person that like to be amongst the crowd a lot. Like I'll speak to a crowd of people or I might go to a place, but if it's overly crowded, I'm not going to be there for that long because that's not fun for me. Like I like more intimate settings. Like what I plan to do eventually, Lord willing, I'm going to have little events and they're going to be very intimate settings. You're not going to see hundreds and thousands of people. You're going to see a very intimate setting of people because that's what I like. I'm not like a very extroverted person where I need to have groups and tons of people. I think you get more value when it's more of an intimate setting than having a whole lot of people around you. But I say that to say that you don't have to be like everybody else. If your lot in life or what you like to do is you go to work, you might go to the gym once in a while and you come home and you enjoy the fruit of your labor. You enjoy your rest or you enjoy the fruit of your husband's labor. You enjoy your family. You don't have to be every woman doing everything. That's the beautiful part about being feminine and leaning into your femininity. Also, you get out of that whole having to be in this kind of like excellent way of being where you have to be doing everything. No, we don't do that. We do what's best for us. And if your best is simply working on your business for a few hours and then resting for the rest of the day and spending time with your family, that's great. You don't have to be this every woman. You really don't. Sip some more of my coffee that's now getting cold. I must ask you all, have you gotten your copy of How to Be a Feminine Woman, the Blueprint? I see that a few of you have purchased it. I appreciate that, and you're getting value out of it. That book I wrote, that was really just something for myself. And I decided to market it because I knew that these were the things that I was looking at, minus the whole man part, because I've been married for 18 years. So that chapter was not about me or for me. But I believe that if women had a blueprint, just had an idea of what to look for and the standard they should have as a feminine woman, that it would be easier for women to shift out of that masculine way of being and to lean more into their femininity if they actually had a blueprint. I'm going to put the link to the book inside of the comment section, and it's in the comment section. It's in the section of the description of this channel. How to Be a Feminine Woman, the Blueprint. You really need to go and get that book because it has so much information in there that's going to help you lean into your femininity and develop those standards as a high value feminine woman. So you really should get that. I talk about spirituality. I talk about what you should look for in a man, the type of man. Of course, all of us like different type of men, but I mean the core essence of masculinity, what you should be looking for in a man as far as his masculinity. I speak about your identity, the way you carry yourself, your wardrobe, the way you, kind of career you have. I speak about that. If you have not gotten How to Be a Feminine Woman, the Blueprint, you should get that. It's on Amazon in ebook and paperback. And then we also have a spread shop that I've opened that has merchandise in there for you all. I have cute tank tops, cute shirts that says Queen Energy, unbothered, because we stay unbothered as feminine women. Cute little stickers and cups. Check out the spread shop. And then I have a membership. So as far as the membership goes, in the membership tab, I'm going to be discussing more risque kind of topics. Of course, we're going to keep it classy always, but there are certain topics that I really don't want to discuss out here in the public forum on YouTube. I want people that really are going to use this for their benefit and that can handle the information. I want to reserve that for those individual women. So I'm going to be talking about more hot topics, so to speak, in the members tab. So I would go ahead and subscribe to the membership if I were you, because that's where I'm going to be talking about things like sensuality, sexuality, more into like the dark feminine. I'll be talking about those kind of things in the membership tab. So I would definitely go on over and subscribe to that. And I also have just a level 1 membership where, you'll have beautiful little emojis and you can have one-on-ones with me. And then lastly, I will be starting to take coaching sessions one-on-one within the channel. And there's going to be a direct link for you all. So in order to have consultations and coachings with me. So that's something that's in the works too. But again, get the book. If you have not done it, I have another book too, How to Detox from Toxic People. That one I wrote before I even started the channel. I just didn't market it. But that one is another power packed one that you should get. So I'm going to leave the link to both of those books in the description. But what time is it? 5:15. Temperature. My hubs is on the way home. So I am about to heat up those leftovers and relax for the rest of the evening. It has been so great having this live chat with you all. I'm going to be doing this more often. And what I really would love for you ladies to do, share this content with more people. Hit the like button and subscribe if you're not already subscribed here, and share the content. When you hit like and subscribe and share the content, that lets YouTube know that this is a valuable channel that more people need to see. More people need to hear the information. And I really believe that I am adding value. And while I'm helping you, this also keeps me grounded in my femininity also, and keeps me in touch with myself as a woman too. So I absolutely adore and appreciate you all, and hit the like button and share this content with one other person you think might be interested in it, because I talk about a little of everything pertaining to womanhood here. All right. I absolutely love talking with you all. Have a wonderful evening. Take care. Hit the like button. Take care.